needs to. But to transition to our guest who made it here safely, and she's happy that the water is, or at least the rain is subsiding because she's got to travel a little bit after she leaves us with good things, is Miss Jamie Rasberry. She's the Policy Coordinator for Mississippi Alliance of Nonprofits and Philanthropy. And I'm thinking, man, if there's any time that Mississippians step up, it's in a time of either acute need or long-term need. And I know that's probably what a lot of the organizations you work with do on a daily basis. So welcome.
Thank you. Happy to be here today.
Good to have you here. Okay, so let's talk about, I hadn't heard of this alliance before until you and I were introduced here recently. So give us a little background of the Mississippi Alliance of Nonprofits and Philanthropy. Do they make you say that 5 times fast?
Well, we like to call ourselves the Alliance, but people don't know what we're an alliance of, so we have to say the whole name anyway. But most people that work with us and know us, we just refer to ourselves as the Alliance. So it does make it a little bit easier.
A little bit shorter on the now we're on the inside. We have the inside information. So give us a little background about the Alliance. What's y'all's mission, or how did y'all get to where you are today?
Yeah, so prior to 2019, there were 2 entities in Mississippi. The Mississippi Center for Nonprofits, which really focused on training, capacity building, supporting nonprofits from the ground up. And then the Mississippi Association of Grantmakers, which is where all of our funders went to connect and collaborate and pull money together to support the nonprofits across the state. So through some conversations with both sides, we call it both sides of the same coin, those 2 organizations dissolved and ultimately rebranded and rebirthed itself as the Alliance. So we've brought those 2 sectors together. And the cool thing about that I like to tell is that we're the only state in the nation that has aligned the 2 sides of the same coin together under one umbrella.
Oh, that's cool.
So every other state still has those organizations siloed. I think there's a few that have caught wind of what we're doing, the success that we're having, and they're starting to look at modeling what we've done here in Mississippi.
How long have y'all been the Alliance?
We launched in 2019, so we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary.
And already kind of getting looked at as maybe this is a working model.
Yes. So I know New Mexico, I believe, and Arizona are transitioning into a model like ours, and some other states are looking at it. But, you know, it's always good to be able to say we're at the top of the list of something in Mississippi.
Is that just because there's no lap over in what the right hand's doing or the left hand's doing, so to say, or is it just the fact that you can pull those resources together for a more focused approach? Is that kind of where the power comes in?
Well, and the power is the key word there, because there's always seemed to be this power dynamic that exists between the 2 entities. And so you've got funders that are looking to grant funds to support nonprofits, and then the nonprofits that are looking to the funders to support their work, but there's never really been any cohesive partnership or collaboration outside of just responding to an RFP or submitting a proposal to a funder. And so we're able to kind of break that power dynamic down and bring those 2 sides together to have a greater impact across our state.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's talk about how it works, like the programming, the partnerships. How does the nonprofits, if they are a nonprofit, are they automatically in the Alliance?
We are a membership organization, so we do have a special suite of programs and special suite of things that you can take advantage of through your membership. But we don't require that to participate in any of our programs. So anybody can join any of our trainings that we have, any of our online webinars that we do, the work that I do. With our policy and affinity groups, you don't have to be a member to participate in that. So we have members that engage really well in a lot of what we offer, and then we have organizations that just kind of trickle in here and there when there's a need that they may have individually.
Is it similar to a chamber of commerce, but not like where businesses sort of come together in a community and then, pull resources and work together? Or is it more of like an association for a health or like a professional sort of career? I'm trying to wrap around kind of like how the model is. Or maybe it's neither. I could have it totally wrong.
I think it could be both and then some.
Yeah.
So with our programming side, Dave Miller is our Chief Program Officer, and he really takes the lead in making sure that all of the external programming, training, capacity building support runs well. And, we've got nonprofits across the state and people that want to start a nonprofit. It really even starts there. If you want to start a nonprofit, there's a process you have to go through. You've got to register as a charity with the Secretary of State's office. You've got to set your board up, about like all the things that you have to do at the ground level to get an organization going. We can help support from the beginning.
That's good to know. To
the end. So once you have your organization set up, then you can come to us at either from the beginning or wherever you are. And, we have an expert suite of trainers and consultants that we use to, work individually with organizations. We're always hosting trainings and webinars. And I think really one of the cool things that we have that makes us unique is we have this program called Excellence in Actions, which is the 12 principles and standards that every nonprofit should be operating under. And we have built all of our training and programming classes and courses around those 12 principles and standards. So financial management, board governance, fundraising, legal compliance, all of those. So any training that we provide, it kind of meets the checklist of, I need to know this and be able to do this to be in compliance with the Secretary of State's office as a charity.
Oh, I love a checklist, but also that gives peace of mind that someone knows that they're sort of walking through all the right steps, because I'm sure it can be overwhelming. And then I guess if you need help in one area or not, you could get more focused help in that way. So now I'm thinking you're like the Small Business Association. I haven't quite figured, sort of pieced it in my mind together, but it sounds like it's a great resource for nonprofits and philanthropies. How many members do you guys have?
Well, we have about 200 members of the Alliance, but there are over 15,000 charities registered in Mississippi, and we have the opportunity to really wrap around those organizations to provide more support.
And I know you've got some success stories to the work that you guys do with the Alliance, but that's Mississippi Alliance of Nonprofits and Philanthropies coming up next. And we're continuing our conversation, too, with Ms. Jamie Rasberry. She is the Policy Coordinator the Mississippi Alliance of Nonprofits and Philanthropy, known as the Alliance.
Yes.
And good question, as we still get into what you guys do. What's the difference between a nonprofit and a philanthropy, even if it's just on paper? How do y'all separate the two?
Yeah, so both of them on paper are 501c3s, but the difference is the nonprofit is the direct service provider. So they are the ones that are in the community meeting the needs of people, whether it be education, advocacy, awareness, or direct services like a food pantry, an after-school program, or a dog shelter, or whatever it may be. And then the philanthropy side of it are the funders that provide grants and funding to support the work that the nonprofits are doing in the community.
So both have their place.
Yes.
Both doing great work.
Yes.
I was staggered. You said you guys have 200 members, but there's like 15,000 nonprofits or philanthropies in Mississippi. And it goes to show, man, Mississippi really is one of the most giving and sort of caring states. Does it matter, like, the size of your nonprofit? I know you mentioned even startups, if that's a term that you use for nonprofits. For the Alliance, you have big ones, small ones, medium-sized ones, everywhere in between ones?
Yeah, all across the board. We'll have some that look to us for some support, and, they've got one or two staff members, an executive director, and maybe one other person. And then we have some that have, up to 100 to 200 employees across the state. So we're here to serve the sector. It doesn't matter to us what type of program you provide or what type of funding you provide. If you are a nonprofit and you need support, we want to help you, and we want to be able to be a good partner with you.
And it's always good to know where your resources at and then what those resources get you. And so I know you have a lot of success stories about how, you worked with businesses or nonprofits during time. So tell us about the digital divide between 20 and 2021, because I know that was a big deal for nonprofits too.
Yeah. So, I can talk about it from the the outcome side of it, I wasn't here at the Alliance when that work actually happened, but it's rolled over into what I'm doing with our policy unit now. And within that, we've built out affinity groups across the state, one focused on education, one on health, and one on workforce development. And in that education affinity group, it has pulled together the nonprofits, the funders, and even some public and private sector partners in there. And when there was a need that came up, this group worked together to identify what we could do to meet that need. And it developed into the Mississippi Connects program that is administered by Department of Education. And the philanthropy partners and the nonprofit partners in that group pulled money together, brought in an expert national consultant to get that work done. So she and our group worked collectively with MDE, the Mississippi Legislature, the nonprofits, community organizations to get devices out to kids all over the state. And we're seeing some of the outcomes from that now, but it was a very historical, monumental thing that happened in a very short amount of time because there was a need. The group worked together, met the need, and there's some reports that have shown just like how vital it is for partnerships. At the end of the day, like I said, we just want to create greater impact across our state. And we know that we're better together if we work together and not in silos.
And that's to a story of where, I guess, the Alliance, you have connections with 200 plus different nonprofits and all over the state of Mississippi doing completely different things, but then you can be that sort of central rallying cry when needed to then funnel out and have a greater, sort of impact. I can sort of see how that would work because there's not one, I would think, one nonprofit that could have gotten out the same number of the devices, to just go through one way. It's better to go through all the different streams and valleys versus, the one big artery. I'm just trying to make a metaphor out of it. Just, with the water and the flooding, the streams. But I mean, so that's kind of how that worked, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, in the work that I do at the Alliance with our state federal policy regulations, monitoring what's happening, coming in and out of the state, and even at the granular level within our affinity groups, we work together and we really are the conveners. We're the connectors. We foster collaboration among the group and among other organizations to support the work that's being done. We're not direct service providers outside of our programming, but we support all of those that are. And so it's really, really neat to be in our meetings and seeing that just organically happen among people. And, they would never have been in the same room with other people had we not pulled them together and, what are the issues? Right. And let's work together and not, apart to address this issue and do something about it. Because they're already playing a part in some form or fashion in making the commuter healthier or, bridging the gaps in which that they saw that the need that they have. And all those bridges have to be, built or done or the gaps filled for it then to all be cohesive and sort of work together, anyway. And so it just makes good sense. So if there's someone listening who has a nonprofit or thinking about starting up a nonprofit, I mean, how do they go in to even start getting more information about the Alliance? Yeah, our website is just alliancems.org, or you can just Google Mississippi Alliance of Nonprofits and Philanthropy. And you can find us there. All of our staff members are listed out on the website. So if there's, something specific that you have a question about, or you can reach out to me individually, I'll be glad to help funnel things. We have a dedicated staff member that works on membership and constituent services. Our executive director is Sammy Moon. Our associate director is Ellen Collins, and both of them just have vast experience and knowledge working in the nonprofit sector and the philanthropy sector. So having them, take the lead and really getting us off the ground and running, and then, being able to grow the Alliance and the programs that we provide. But just reach out to us, call us, email us, go to the website, see what we've got going on there. And if you have any questions, you can come to our office. We'll be glad to sit down with you and help any way that we can.
I feel like there's someone out there who has an idea for a nonprofit, but they're already doing nonprofit-like work and services, but for whatever reason, they're either fear or misunderstanding or myths around making it formal or finalized or taking that next step. They just haven't made it official. What would you say to them to encourage them to at least see the checklist of what it takes, even though that can be scary too? But if they are thinking about taking that next step and making it an official nonprofit?
We will be glad, like I said, to sit down and talk with them, because there's so many people that are doing good work. They have the heart for it. They have the passion for it. But there's sometimes the administrative side of it that they are scared of. They're more afraid of that than they are of doing the work. And that's where we can really step in and help support and give them the tools and the resources they need, and, make recommendations, and, bringing in our expert trainers and consultants to really help them start off on the right foot. And then connecting them with funders, because a lot of people want to do the work, but they are afraid to raise money, or they're afraid to respond to a grant, or how to write proposals, but they need the funding to be able to do the work. And so that's where we just come in neutral, and we can sit down with them. They can share their ideas. They can talk about their fears, their challenges, their opportunities, and we can just walk them through whatever it is that they need to be able to see this dream and this vision to do good come to life.
Oh, yeah. And I think what a great resource to know about, right? I mean, is the Alliance. Because if you're out there and you're boots on the ground trying to raise funds, maybe there's a better way in terms of a grant that would fit and you could get to doing your work and sort of all of that. So I think this is wonderful. I hope more folks hear this information today, Jamie. They at least reach out and connect what you guys do. So kudos. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Remind us of the website one more time.
AllianceMS.org.
All right. You guys stick with us. We got more for you coming up next.